Hey girl, hey.
Hey
We
girl.
are here with my girl Kierstyn. She is a screenwriter, a performer,
Mm,
and a filmmaker.
yeah.
So we're gonna get into the details of that. How you doing? How you doing today?
Hey Keena,
Hey,
I'm
Tina, I'm
good. Thank you
good.
for
Thank you for
asking.
asking.
I'm good. I'm in Dallas right now, traveling, but I'm great. Got a good night's sleep.
How's the
So
weather?
it's cold. I did not know it was gonna be so cold here. I live in Texas. I think it's gonna be warm all the time, but like I don't check the weather. I just live my life, But it's like real cold, like rainy cold. So I'm ready to go back home. Yeah.
Okay. I get it. It did some rainy and cold goings on when I was there in February in Houston.
Oh yeah. It doesn't make the trip fun at all.
I know, right? But we worked it out.
Exactly.
So I'm excited to have you, and I just want to get started with your journey. Tell me about your background in college athletics and what led you to pursue your storytelling full time.
Yeah. So I started working in college athletics during undergrad. So I was an undergrad from 2010 to 2014. And then I went to grad school for it to continue. And so I have been doing it, as long as I've had a career for the most part. And so during COVID, which I think is so funny because everybody got a hobby during COVID,
Right.
but I just kept it, right? During COVID, we had all this extra time and we weren't going in. And so I started writing. But once I started writing, I realized like, one, I really enjoy it. Two, like, I think once you have all this time to like sit and meditate, you realize you don't like your current life sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like makes you reevaluate the things that you are doing with your life. And so that's really what happened for me. Like I would write and, I would kind of talk about, and then I would say it loosely. Like, I have this idea for this. I have this idea for this. Like, I have this idea for a show. And I would tell friends of mine, but it wasn't anything I was like doing or super, giving any energy to. And once COVID hit and once we had to go back in the office, I was like, I can't do this shit no more.
Yeah.
Just because I was working in academics. And so, working with the students I was working with, education is important, but football is more important. And that was the population that I was working with, and it just didn't feel fulfilling anymore. So, but it was a journey to get out. So I realized that maybe in 2020, and I started writing, but doing screenwriting full time, I had to learn how to do it. I had no idea how to do it. And so I would just read books, I would watch interviews, and I would just journal because that's all I could manage at that point. And then by January 2021, I like got with a writers group, and it was like a virtual one. And so that's when I kind of learned how to write full time, or just like, and I say full time, but just like writing scripts, having somebody read my writing, getting feedback on my writing, and editing it. But I wasn't producing at that point, and I wasn't telling anybody what I was doing. I was just writing. I mean, yeah. So, and then that was like January 2021. I was still working in athletics, and then I stopped working in athletics and did freelance writing, and also was just trying to work on production, trying to figure stuff out. And then I transitioned um, to California in like 2022. But throughout that time, like I still had day jobs and stuff, and I still currently do. So it definitely is still like a hustle doing, paying your bills and then writing too.
So you decided that you were going to move to California. What was that decision? What was the exact moment you knew you needed to leave that world behind
Oh my God.
and bet on your dreams to take yourself to California? Because where were you at the moment?
I was living in Florida, Orlando, Florida, and I was working at a American Black Film Festival, which is in Miami. They have it every year. It's like a really large Black film festival, heavily attended, just good energy, good vibes. And so I was volunteering to work because I'm like, at the time I couldn't afford to go. $500 for the weekend ticket, and you got to pay to stay somewhere, all of the things I just couldn't afford at the time. And so I was volunteering, but a friend of mine was in California in film school. So we had, talked about filmmaking. I had worked on a set for him in 2021. And so he was at the event. And so we randomly, like, we didn't know. I texted him, like, I'm gonna be at this event. Do you know anybody who's gonna be there? And he was like, oh, I'm gonna be there. I'm like, oh, that's what's up. So we were having a conversation after a panel, and we were talking, and he was like, I see you doing all this stuff. If you're really interested in doing film, you gotta come to LA. And I mean, all I need is a reason. I don't got no reason to be out there. And I say no reason, but a job, a place to stay, you know what I'm saying? Something to bring me there. I can figure everything else out. But at the time, I mean, maybe within the last year or so, I had applied to jobs randomly. Nothing ever came of it. It didn't really feel like the time to go. But we had that conversation. Then a week later, so crazy. Think about it now. God is crazy. But a week later, we're at another event, like nonprofit event that my friend puts on. And I was walking out. I was leaving. He was like, "Hey, let me walk you out." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he was, bye. And I'm like, "Oh, when you go back to Cali, just saying our goodbyes." And he was like, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." I remember him saying it so specifically, like, "I don't know why I'm telling you this, but there's a set. It's like 3 weeks. It's a feature, no pay, right? No pay, just meals. We need PAs." And I was like, "Man, I can't go to LA for 3 weeks with no pay. Like, I got 2 jobs. Like, no, I can't do that." And
Right.
so, but at the end of what he was saying, he was like, "There's gonna be some people from Grey's Anatomy on the set, and Debbie Allen's gonna be in the." He literally said that, and so I was like, "Okay, sounds good. Have fun. See you when I see you." I went home that night and like I could not sleep. I could not sleep. I was up the whole night like thinking about it. And bro, I can't do this. Talking to God, praying about it. I can't do this. Like, God, if you want me to do this, you're gonna have to like figure some. I can't do it. I ain't got it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got it. And so that next morning, after thinking all night, and I was okay, how can I finesse this? And so I went to work the next day, and it's so funny how things are happening around you because my job at the time was gonna be stopped for 2 weeks because I was working for a clinic and they were moving the clinic, so then I have no patients for 2 weeks, and then also my supervisor at the time was having surgery. It was crazy. So I was gonna be not working for 2 weeks anyway, and so I went to tell her, "Listen, I got this opportunity. I'm gonna go to LA. I may or may not be back. I don't know." And so she was like, "Well, call me if you come back." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And so I left, but I packed all my stuff because I was thinking, okay, if I go out there, how the fuck would I come back? Like, I could have took a flight, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna take my car and I just packed all my stuff. Then this is God, truly, because like prior to that, like I was in my own apartment. I had a 2-bedroom apartment, I downsized, and then I had been living with a friend because she bought a house. So I just was like in a room. And I like got rid of all my stuff prior to that. So like I really didn't have a lot of stuff. And so, in my mind, I was like, this I don't have a lot to do to leave here. You know what I mean? Versus like packing up your whole life. Like it was already, I'm trying to be out of here. I just don't know when. And so that was, thinking about it now in retrospect, thing. Like I was set up for this, but in real time, like I wasn't actively, oh, I need to get to LA. It was like timing. So yeah.
That's wow. So, in the background of all of this, you had already prepared yourself to be ready to get up and go.
Yeah. But I need you to understand it wasn't a cognizant thing. I wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna get like it was just like, okay, I'm gonna downsize. Okay, I'm gonna just get rid of all this stuff. Cause a year prior I was gonna move to Texas just because I didn't want to be in Florida anymore. But the circumstances that I had with work opportunity kind of fell through and last minute I was gonna move somewhere and it fell through. And so then my friend's house was available. So I was like, okay, cool. And I was also finding a job in Texas, nothing was coming. So and I got the job opportunity in Florida. So things just kind of like, and I was like, okay, if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is what I'm gonna do. And so just thinking about it now, like it was so divine because it was just the steps were ordered. Truly. I mean, and it seems crazy. And I don't think I've ever really explained it other than like the people that actively know. I've never really talked about it because I was embarrassed. Cause I'm like, you a grown woman, you 30, and you drop everything off of one conversation to go across the country to have nowhere to live. But it just made sense at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moments come like that
It
in
do, and you have
industry.
to
Like,
be prepared for it. Understanding how LA works now, I didn't know this previously, but that's kind of how things come. It's not like you applying, like it's just things align. This opportunity comes. If you there available, if you not, you missed out. Like, and it's not personal. It's just we need somebody here now. And if you're
right.
here and available, you good. But and I didn't know that. I'm applying to jobs. Ain't nobody waiting for somebody to come across. You got to be here. You got to be there. So
When you got to LA, what were some of the hardest parts about starting over in a new state?
yeah. So I think when I was on set, it wasn't terrible just because like I had things to do during the day. Like my mind wasn't occupied on like, making a living for myself. Like I was staying with a friend. I didn't have regular bills, but I had a little bit of money saved up. So okay, as soon as set is over, I'm gonna like lock in to try to find something like stable. But it took me a minute to get work, which I was really surprised. I mean, and I have a master's degree and, all of the things, but I'm just trying to pay my bills. And those jobs kind of take time to get, you know what I'm saying? And so I got there July 7/22. We wrapped end of July, maybe first week of August. And so I moved into an apartment second week of August. I don't think I started working full time until October, maybe. And so it was stressful just because I didn't have that much money saved up that I'm like, okay, I'm good for 6 months. I'm good for it wasn't that much, but I was just having a really, really hard time finding a job. So community, I actually like thankfully so my friend who told me about the opportunity, he was tapped into a creative community, and so I used that to find my own space in there. And so a guy who his name is Dante Bailey, he is USC alumni. He started a writers group just like out of his home for, just people interested in like getting their stuff read and like, getting feedback. And so while I was there, my friend Anthony, who told me about the opportunity, he was like, hey, just go to this writer group one day. I don't know if you're staying out here, but just go. And so I went and visited. It was cool. And so over the time of me trying to find an apartment, trying to find a job, I'm like, okay, listen, like I gotta do something every day because applying for jobs all day, every day is I gotta do something else to not feel crazy. And so I started going to that every week. The least I can do, go to that every Tuesday. And so I was um I was going to that, and that's how I started to find community, which was good. But I was also writing on the side because I had like still my virtual writing groups. I would write, look for jobs, and go to that. That was my schedule until I got a job.
So you're still working on towards what you wanted to do by involving yourself in that writers group, but you were also like, okay, I need to find employment so I can, keep it going. But
Yeah,
it was still working out because you were still there doing what you were supposed to do, and you didn't allow that obstacle to steer you off that path. So I think that's
yeah. Thank you. Nah, bro. Like,
yeah. Like, did
yeah,
you ever question your decision? Like, how did you
yeah.
navigate those moments of doubt?
I wouldn't give a lot of credit to like just the people in my life. Like one, just being in a virtual writers group, and at that point we had been writing together for about a year already. So there was some consistency there. But I had friends in my life that on my way driving, I had a friend from college, and I stopped at his house in Phoenix, and he like took me to church, and we met a man there, and he told me about his journey because he was from LA. He was leaving, and he was like, hey, I had the same thing. I feel like God was telling me to do something. I left. I had no job. On the way, somebody called me about a job. So that encouraged me. Nobody's ever told me the story, and it felt just, maybe something can happen for me. But as far as I was going real time, definitely I was sleeping on a blow up mattress in a studio apartment across the country with nobody I knew. The only thing that kept me sane was writing. As long as I write, I'm gonna just write, just write. And yeah, it was hard though.
Yeah. And it's, you hear the stories. Some people never have an opportunity to meet anybody that has actually gone through it,
Yeah.
seriously. But it's real. It doesn't happen just overnight or just
It
stuff just
doesn't.
automatically starts working out. And
Yeah.
being strong and having faith also helps that as well.
And I want to say, because when I left the set, because in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to get to the set. I'm going to work so hard. People going to notice, and I'm going to get a job off that, right? I had set, and that happened kind of like one of the ADs or the assistant directors I was working there, he was working at Grace. He was like, hey, Kierstyn, I know you're looking for work. Like, I'll connect you with the Grace people. I'm like, okay, great. That sounds good. He connected me. The people
Nice.
reached out,
Okay.
booked me, and then canceled. And I never heard anything from them again. And so, like, those are the moments that I did exactly what I felt like I was supposed to do. I need you to understand, even PAs at Grays make bank. It wasn't about making a lot of money, it's just being able to support yourself. And those were the moments that it was, what?
Grace is like a career job when you think about it because it's
Yeah. It's
for
20 years. People have been working. I literally knew a lady, she's literally been working there like 10 years. And I'm like, I think about like somebody's career is 20 years. But it's a world, you know what I'm saying? I think about it now, I'm like, that would have been too easy. You know what I mean? And not that I'm asking for it to be hard, but like, of course that wouldn't have happened because like, and I also wasn't supposed to be there. So, but I think those are the moments that it's like, what do you want me to do? But thinking about it now,
that's so close, and then you have that moment.
thinking about it now, I feel like, one is a test of faith, but two, like, if I was working on grades, I wouldn't have been writing because I would have been so busy. Like, so busy. I would have worked probably 15 hours a day. So busy. I wouldn't have been writing. So it's a blessing, but you don't see it in real time.
Okay, that too. You know, you get to where you are supposed to be, and then you realize,
You're like, thank God that didn't happen. But ooh, you don't feel it in real time. You really don't.
okay. So we talked about how you build your community. Have you ever felt like underestimated? We just talked about a situation where there's a possibility of feeling overlooked because you had already gone through the things and then you didn't hear back.
Yeah.
Did you feel any of that because you did not have an extensive background in, in the industry that you were coming into?
Yeah, and I struggle with it now too, actually. But especially being in the writer groups I was a part of, because it was started by somebody who went to film school, and I'm around. I mean, everybody there didn't go to film school, but some of them did. And when people are critiquing your work, one, you just have to learn how to take notes in real time. Like it feels very like personal, but then once you get to a point, you can take it and not be so upset about it. But I'm around all these film school people, and I didn't go to film school. And so it took me probably 2 months to even share any work. I would just go and help read and listen. But it was encouragement from a friend of mine, and he had read some of my work, and he was like, yeah, share your work. Like, you share your work. Everybody shares their work and stuff. And so I think that was intimidating. But I also realized that that space was a helpful space. It wasn't there to ain't nobody here to try to judge you or talk shit about you. It's just like, we're all trying to get better. And so I'm like, well, if I'm in the ranks of film school kids, least I could do is learn from them, even if I feel intimidated. You know what I'm saying? So I try to be really humble in those moments, because it really can feel like you don't know nothing. You know what I'm saying? On top of the fact that we reading out loud, and that's some public school shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm already nervous to be reading out loud, let alone it's my work. And this is hard. So, but
In a room
yeah, I mean,
of people that you didn't know that well.
right. It's just the subjects we talk about. Like it really is. I say rough. It's a hard thing to do, to put yourself out there. But I try to take the perspective of one, just learning. Like, I'll just learn whatever y'all can share with me. I'll learn it, and then try to just not be so sensitive. Even though we are artists, we are. It's always hard. It's hard to balance it.
Understood. So speaking of balance,
Mhm.
like how do you balance being authentic while navigating the networking?
I think this is hard when I first got to LA, because I feel like people tell you you just got to go and hustle, do all the things, be in all the rooms, la la la. And I didn't have access to a lot of things, so anything that I did go to, I tried to come in and meet people and do all the things. But I realized I had to, because I didn't want to feel uncomfortable and ingenuine in real time. And I feel like it even got to a point where I felt desperate for anything. Even, I mean, and I was, because I wasn't working. I need a job. I need money. You know what I'm saying? And like, even in interviews, I felt like that's how I was coming across. And if, in real time, that's how I felt. But I think truly, like, I'm not ever the type of person that's playing in nobody's face, or I try not to be. And so I think that's the approach that I try to take in networking. Because like college athletics, even we would be at conference or convention, and everybody's trying to go to all these parties, and I'm not. I'm really straight on this. You know what I'm saying, I meet people and stuff, but if I feel uncomfortable in a room, I'm more likely to leave. Just because I don't feel that networking is even gonna be beneficial at that point. And so once I transitioned to LA, I'm a Southern girl, so I speak to everybody. So, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You know what I'm saying? But as far as building connection and stuff, you do the Instagram follow and stuff like that, but nothing comes of it. And so I had learned the people that I really mess with can like potentially lead to something. So like I would just go off of interest. Like if somebody shared some work that I was really interested in, I would just like speak to them as genuinely as possible. Or like there was something, if somebody got some clothes on that you like, where'd you get that from? I really like,
Exactly.
then, in trying to be like truly genuine about it. And it's hard because in LA, people just nice and you don't know why, but like, can't try to act like something that I'm not. That's the approach I try to take with that.
All right. So let's get into Sext.
Okay.
Oh yeah? Can I get a preview? You're just different. Man. Right now, man. Y'all doing too much, man. You nasty motherfucker.
I had the pleasure of being able to view it all.
Yeah.
It was absolutely dope. I
Thank
felt
you.
that bathroom scene. Too personal. That
Man, no. So one, I do want to say Kina has a song that is in the film. I'm so grateful that you allowed us to use your song. I know it's your interview, but I want to say this prior to us getting started. I was looking for music for the film. I had gotten to there was 3 songs that I was just sing. You know, to the point of being authentic, your sister had showed us this song forever ago. I literally have had it on Spotify. I've listened to it, as well as your brother's song, which I love that song. I literally sing it all the time. And when I was in Michigan, I was like, I feel it. I feel like I know where he coming from. You know what I'm saying? And so once I came to Michigan for the short time that I was there, I was like, oh, duh. Let me just ask Kina if I can use her because it literally goes. So I don't know how you feel about it, but yeah. It was literally perfect. I was like, I've known this song for years, and it literally just clicked. So I just wanted to say that before we get into
I love
it. Yeah,
for you, isn't it?
yeah. I'm happy. I'm grateful.
That's lucky. She's talking about lucky.
No, for real. Show my love, baby. While I open up to you, it literally could not be more perfect. I said, girl, you were doing that. So thank you for writing that song.
Like, I appreciate you understanding and being able to relate. That that's the best part of doing it too.
Yeah.
So so your short film Sext, it's screened at the Rhymes Performing Arts Center / Debbie Allen Dance Academy. That is a huge accomplishment.
Oh, thank you.
Like, how did you get that opportunity?
In the order step piece of it. So my friend is the curator for Debbie Allen Dance Academy, but we met on the set that I went to LA for. So the first day in LA, I met this girl. She was not working there at the time, and all the things truly things kind of aligned. After we finished the film in January of 2024, we submitted to film festivals and didn't get into anything. And it was 7 film festivals that we submitted to. Didn't get anything, no looks. And so at that point, to give more context, the film festival circuit, one, they say that you have about a year to submit your film, see what happens, and then kind of move forward. So that year went by, and we didn't get into anything. On top of the fact that it costs money to submit, and it's anywhere between $40 to $100 per submission, but that adds up, right? When we made this film, it wasn't we didn't raise money. It was more so hey, we want to all get together and make something, try to do it on a budget. Let's see what can happen. And it kind of turned into something larger than I ever intended it to be. And so once we didn't get in the festival, my goal shifted to okay, at least needs to screen it for the cast and crew. Prior to the screening, I didn't screen it because just a part of me was just I want, if nothing else, I want the cast and crew to be able to see it in a good venue, just because, to be transparent, a lot of people volunteered their time, sources. I paid some, and then I, made sure everybody was good as far as bills and things of that nature, but didn't have the money to pay. And so people volunteering their time. And so the least I could do is allow us to experience it in a dope way. And so the opportunity came because my friend, so she started working at Rhymes maybe 23, something 2023. And that's around the time that we kind of reconnected, because we met each other on set, but we followed each other, and we weren't friends at that point. But she was doing some events, she has a nonprofit organization, so she was doing events. I would just pull up, oh, this is cool. Saw what she was doing. I'm like, can I, if you need help. And so I would do some media stuff for her. And so during the process of her events happening, we just got cool because, she would call me and ask me for help, and I'm down. And so I would just pull up. And so over a year, because it was a long time prior to that, but she had started this programming for Herstory in March of 2023. That was the first year that they did it. And the programming included Ava DuVernay's film Origin. So they screened that and did a panel with Miss Allen and Ava DuVernay. They did just a bunch of stuff. They did Men Who Love Women, and they had a bunch of men from Hollywood coming and they did this art gallery. They have artists that showcase their work. It's just a dope space, and she had the opportunity to curate it. And so this year she was putting on the programming, and I reached out to her hey, I'm trying to screen this. I was gonna rent out a theater and just do it. And so she was like, well, why don't you just do it at here? And I'm like, I didn't know that was an option to do it there. And so I wrote up a proposal and I sent it over to her and sent the link to the film. Girl, probably 24 hours later, they were like, "Oh, it's a go." I said, I said, you know how long I've been doing this? You know, I've been like, I submit this thing. It was 24 hours later, bro. It was 24 hours later. So the event was March 23rd. I found out maybe like February 22nd or 23rd. So it was a month before. And I don't live in LA. So I had to talk to the cast and crew. Literally, to people, this movie had been dead for a year. You know what I'm saying? Nothing had, and I say dead, like nothing was coming of it, screening nothing. So, but that's what happened.
Was that the only short film that you worked on that you have ever submitted for the film festival?
No, so I have another short film. So Sex is 15 minutes, but I have a 3-minute short film, and I've submitted to some things. I haven't put a lot of energy into submitting it to things. But originally, if I was gonna rent out a venue, I was gonna screen everything that I have. I have 4 shorts. So, but Sex is the longest one, and it would have been the finale. So yeah.
I like that. Okay. What challenges did you have, like bringing Sex to life?
I'll start from the pre-production standpoint. So we started working, a director got attached, a cinematographer got attached probably around November 2022. And then it really was learning people, working with people showing interest that got people together. So I feel like that part was decently smooth, our pre-production, like we were on it, on our meetings, finding people, that really went really smoothly. However, I feel like the challenges for me started probably right when production started, and then post-production was hell for me personally. It was supposed to be 2 12-hour days to make the film. The original script was 5 pages, but through our pre-production process, it got extended. So it was anywhere between, and this is a large gap, but I just don't remember, between 11 and 18 pages. Sex is only 15 pages. The director wrote in a lot of the shots to make sure she knew what she wanted to get for it, and so it kind of extends. And so from a filmmaker standpoint, shooting 12-hour days, you can get probably 16 to 18 shots a day. When I wasn't a filmmaker, I didn't know what this meant. But setting up the camera, doing the scene, doing it as many times as you need to get it, and then moving on to the next thing and setting up the camera and doing that again. We had a lot more shots than that, and so I think it put the crew under a lot of pressure, and so that part I wasn't familiar with, but we were going with the flow, and we moved, but there was a good amount of things that we didn't get, a large part. So the bathroom scene and all of that, we were supposed to get it day 2, and we didn't get it. And so we were okay, we have to do a pickup. So we did a pickup day, which it was 5 people in a bathroom, which that was probably, just as far as experience goes, it felt calmer. I don't got to think about feeding all these people or making sure people doing what they're supposed to be doing. I can super concentrate on this, on top of the fact that this is the most intimate part of the film. And so having a room full of people, it doesn't feel good. You know what I'm saying? No matter how Zane is this, but she's also naked. So can y'all just go? You know what I'm saying? It's not cool. So that was, I think I was most comfortable as far as acting goes, but that was a hard day just as far as the intimacy of the scenes and just having that experience. And then once we were in post-production, I think that's when things really became hard for me. So I didn't know this, and every set's different, I think, but the director in film is the king. And so everything the director says, that's what happens. However, based on just the dynamic of what we were doing and how we, because I was the writer, I was the actress, and I executive produced the film, I provided the money. I feel and I've told my director this, I feel some of the choices, I wasn't giving her the creative freedom that a director would have on a film. Right? In TV, the writers are king. It's what's written on the page. The director comes in, make sure you create the vision of that. Whereas in film, that's not the same. That's not the case. But it was a collaborative effort, because I think she came in trying to how can I help this vision, be of service of it. But I think we butted heads a lot from just choices that she made or things that she wanted, and I was that's not the intention of it. So creatively, I think we butted heads. We got to a common ground, but in real time, and I've said this to her in real time, it became combative for me at a point. And so I was we need to stop, take a break, and so we can really, because then And it's like pressure because at that point we were trying to submit to a film festival that year. So we shot January 23. We're trying to submit to festivals February 23, 2023. And so we're trying to do all this in a short amount of time. And, creative energy, passion, all that starts dumping ahead you. We need a month. So we realized like we weren't going to make our deadline based on like the things we still had to do. And I was like, okay, let's just take some time. Let's take some time. And so we walked away, came back like a month later, and like it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, okay, now I can see this with new eyes. Like, I truly think like that was helpful. But then like our edit ended up taking about like 6 months after that. And then on a personal level, like my life was blowing up. Relationship issues, work, financial issues, and on top of the fact that like I think I was coming to grips, and this sounds insane to me when I think about it, but like, I was coming to reality of like, what was actually happening. Like, because I feel like when you're in it, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this, but we're in edit every week, and I'm watching me with lingerie on TV. You know what I'm saying? I know I did this, but like, this is about to be done. And people go see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm laughing about it now, but I really wasn't okay in real time during that time. And so I think that was the biggest challenge for me. And I think it affected, my, emotions affected the leadership team. I'll say more the director mostly and our producer, but there was also some leadership things that I'd never been a leader. So having to have like conversations and like addressing things in real time or having an issue and like seeing it, those are things that were happening that I didn't address and I should have. And so those are also festering too because they happened and I didn't address it. And then it was still an issue for me, but I wasn't addressing it. So, that little snippiness you get with people and they like, what's she mad at? You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, so all of that led to our extension of post production. But from my perspective, that's what was happening.
So let's back up a bit because the scenes are all too familiar for me. Speaking of Lucky, that video kind of, had to get into a different headspace to do that. But in real time, when you're doing it, it's, you're going through the motions, you're getting it done because you have this vision and what you're doing it for. But when you go back and you're looking at it, especially as women, we start to look at everything. How was my hair looking? Was my shirt lopsided? How does my stomach look? How does my thighs look? That type of stuff. So, like, how did you really get to that point where it was like, okay, let me get out of my head? Because that kind of is what's going on in the film itself.
Yeah.
How did you, outside of your character, when you were going through that in real time, and unfortunately it was affecting your surroundings because you needed to know to be able to go through and address some things at the time, but you weren't able to do so. What finally got you to that, being able to overcome what in fact you were feeling that caused
So I think in real time, I was so driven to get things done that I wasn't making a conscious effort or a conscious understanding of Kierstyn's body is going to be on camera with lingerie, right? I was just like, okay, Zaina needs this. I was really meticulous about the clothes that I was going to wear. It was more so, and to include ego. Listen, I'm gonna do this, but I'm not gonna be out here ugly. You know what I'm saying? So I was very specific about the lingerie that we chose. There were other options, and they were probably a little more conservative, but I wouldn't wear that. I was trying to be cute for my man. I wouldn't wear that. Like I didn't think that it looked good on my body, even though it was worth conservative. But I wanted to choose like what I would actually wear, what I actually like, what I would actually feel comfortable in. Because being on camera and then being in something that is conservative, but you don't feel comfortable in it, it's not gonna work either. Because like that energy, you could probably just still feel it. Like I'm not that great of an actress to act like I don't feel uncomfortable. I'm just not. At least not yet. And so in those conversations, like I was very intentional about what I was wearing, but understanding like it is very sexy. It's see-through. There are things about my body that people will see that aren't people wouldn't know if they didn't see this movie. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So in real time, though, I was so driven that I wasn't thinking about the emotional aspect of it. I was just like, okay, I'm going to be as efficient as possible on this. I think there was a point when we were doing the bathroom scene that everybody, and there was like 5 people on set that day. Everybody was in them, and I was like getting dressed in the bedroom. And I remember, and I had to put on a mask. And I remember being like, I got to open this door and see these people. And so I think that was the first, because everything else I was wearing like crop top and shorts, which honestly I really wasn't that super uncomfortable with, because that's literally something I would wear to bed every day. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, this is fine. I wear this every day. But like, that was when it kind of hit. But in real time, you know what? I got to do it. So I'm just do it. Like, like hold your breath. I'll just do it, So in real time, that's what was happening.
You finally overcome that? Did you just tap into your personal confidence?
Yeah. I didn't overcome that until more recently, I'll say. In real time, it was the drivenness that was pushing me. But as far as being okay with people seeing it and like not feeling any type of way about it, that was a a transition over just personal growth over the last, I would say, because I feel like we submitted to festival, like I said, January 2024. I think if we got into anything, I would have still been like this, truly, because I don't feel super comfortable. There are still parts of the film that I still just can't watch. I'll just put my hands up. But now I'm so detached from it, and I had to realize like Kierstyn is Kierstyn, is Zaina, right? Like we are not the same person. And I also did a lot of research just as far as like actors and how they experience things. I watched the interview with Taraji P. Henson, and she talked about how emotional she was in real time when she was doing Baby Boy. She was like, this was like my real life, and she would literally be on set just like bawling, crying, like it was press cut and she couldn't stop. And hearing those things made me realize the emotional things that I was dealing with. Because like, in real time, I wasn't going home being emotional, but once we were in edit, I would be like so upset and I just didn't know why. And I would be talking to people and just really upset about stuff. But I realized, and I had to go therapy. I had to do a lot of work to like figure out what my actual issue was, which all is rooted in, personal things that have occurred. But yeah, it took a while. But I really, anybody can see it now. Like I don't care. But previously, and this is probably, I was trying to get into film festival, but I was very guarded with who I would allow to see the film. I was like, I'm not ready yet. So, to the cast and crew, I'm sorry, but I needed time. I needed time to get there.
Like, ooh, understood. So, as a Black woman filmmaker, what kinds of stories do you feel responsible to tell?
So I was like, I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, we have like Shonda Rhimes, Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay, Miss Debbie Allen, so many other Black women filmmakers. And I say so many others, not like a large number, but like we have really powerful women telling stories in Hollywood, right? Or like now and within the last years. So my responsibility, I don't feel responsible for anything specifically, which I'm so grateful for because I feel like these women they've done the responsible thing. You know what I'm saying? I think about Different World, and Miss Allen was the director of that. The level of responsibility with that, because that was first of there. And not to minimize, we don't have that many Black shows, but as far as responsible, I don't have that weight. I want to tell things that feel true to me, or things that I think are funny, or things that I don't think that I've ever seen, or things that I want to do. But as far as responsibility goes, I don't super feel that way, which I'm grateful for. But it's because of the people that I look up to and aspire to be like, they have that responsibility, and I just get to have fun. And that's how I feel right now, right? But I may feel differently later. But right now, I don't feel responsible for anything.
Okay, well, I think that's a good start for it to be on the lighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Develop all of those things going forward, and then even though you're telling a story, it might not necessarily feel like it's a responsibility. More so, the responsibility to tell it right, make sure you get facts and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I always want it to feel like genuine and true. Like even in Sex, for example, there's a conversation about him or the number being saved or not. Or I don't think that's uncommon now. You know what I'm saying? Kind of explain that to in a production standpoint. But it's just like I have a responsibility to things feeling truthful to my experiences and the people that I know. But as far as, holding up the Black community, no, I don't got that on me.
Way different from you do not make it to a defined name.
Right. Like, but that I feel responsible for that because like that's true. Like I'm not this man's number is not saved in my phone yet. Like I don't know yet. So yeah.
Well, let's see. What do you think is next for you creatively? Are you working on any pipelines? Are you going to do another screening so that more people, open it up to the public a little bit, so more people
Yeah.
can and view your
So yeah, so as far as up next, with Sext, I'm interested in screening it more. I just don't. I'm trying to figure out the route in which to do that. There's always the YouTube, but I said the YouTube. I sound like an old lady. There's always the YouTube route, but I feel like once it's on YouTube, it's shot as far as like trying to because it's available
right,
publicly. So how do you maneuver through that? How do you get people to come to the screening when they can watch on YouTube?
right.
And so I'm open to that. There are some suggestions about doing it in different cities, just based on like, people that live there want to like do something to get the film screened. I'm open to that, and then also trying to figure out if film festivals are still a option, just because some film festivals have like a timeline on like when things can be shot versus when they can be screened. And so because we've already gone through the festival route once, I don't know if we have the opportunity to do that again. So I'm just talking to people, just trying to figure out that. But ultimately, I want Sex to be out there in some capacity. I just have to figure out what's the best route and what makes the most sense. But people are interested in spinning it. So if anybody's, people got a venue and want to support, or I'll send the link. We can definitely pull up. So, I'm interested in doing that, but just figuring out what that's going to look like. And then as far as other projects, so I'm working with two other guys. So we have a comedy group, myself, Kevin Moore, who is the editor on Sex, and then Khalil Hines, who is a friend that we met in our writers group. And so we are making sketch comedy. And so we shot a couple of things so far. We kind of worked together on another short film that I did, and then we shot things collectively. But we're trying to make kind of a variety show, but we all live in different places. So it's taken a little longer than I would love for it to take. But that's something that we've written scripts, we're trying to cast and produce and stuff like that. So we're in the pre-production process for that. And so yeah,
All
that's
right,
what I have
that
going
sounds
on.
good.
Yeah, thanks.
For other women thinking of walking away from safe careers to chase something, new, and something more aligned with what they want to do in their life, like what is your message to them?
I think that if I had to go off of what I did, I think just understanding, trying to figure out like what you want to do, right? You may not have all the answers, but okay, as far as safe careers, why are you there? Do you like what you do? If you do not like what you do, try to figure out how to do something else or what you want to do and then figure out how. Because I currently have a 9 to 5 while I do this, right? And so as far as safe careers, I did the big leap, but it wasn't sustainable. I was out there during the strike. I had to pay my bills. You have to survive, right? And so understanding, and I think about just like other women, Ava DuVernay, she kept her day job while she was doing film. Issa had a day job while she was doing her skits and stuff. So that's not abnormal. However, if it's something that you're interested in, you have to figure out how to incorporate both until you can fully transition. So that would be my advice. Because the jumping ship, and I did it, and I don't regret it, but I had to figure out how to do both because one wasn't fully sustainable at that time, and it still isn't for a lot of people, truly, because people are struggling in the film space right now. So
And that's honest because a lot of people like to sell a dream, for lack of better words, try to make you feel like get out there, you gotta do it. You can't be taking time to do it, focusing on other stuff. But in actuality is I kind of have to
I
multitask.
kind of have to.
I want to do this thing, but I also have to fund it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's like how you do it. Because even if you want to act, like, you may not be funding a project, but you have to fund acting classes, or you have to, something, you have to be taking care of something. And so everybody's journey is not paying for a production, right? I understand that. But to do whatever you want to do, you got to figure out how to do it. So if you don't have the money, then you may need to give free time or, something else. So you just have to figure out based on what I need and have, what can I do to do this? And to your point of like selling the dream, it really is baby steps. Like when I was writing in a journal while I was working. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't I'm doing this, I'm leaving. Like, it was a process. But then you also, I think during that process, you figure out if you actually really want to do it or not. Because the safety of a job is great, but if you're not interested and willing to put in the effort to do the other thing, then you might as well stay at the job. And not to downplay your dreams, but it's like it's going to take effort. It's not easy. You will get your ass whooped. Your mind will go like literally. You're gonna feel like the bottom of the barrel. But are you willing to like continue? to get up tomorrow and write again, to get up tomorrow and call this person, submit this audition tape. Like, and if you're not, honestly, just be like, cool, stay in your safe. Because you won't feel crazy. You'll just hate your job. You know what I'm saying? But you'll pay your bills. You'll live a life. Yeah, that. And then I don't, like, as far as telling the dream goes, like, I kind of had to be, like, delusional. And I still am, truly. Like, I still, there are still things that, like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I got a dream for it. So that dream thing is really important, but, like, as you learn things, I feel like you have to, like, incorporate it in the dream. You can't be delusional about reality. Like, I'm working towards this, but it's like I have to deal with this to continue to do that. So, I think that's what I learned in LA, because, like, I'll be talking to people and then I realize you a dreamer for real. You really not doing that. Truly, and there are people out there that aren't doing nothing. They just out there saying that they doing stuff, or they did, it's just, you really have to understand what that looks like and who are you and what are you gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
So my Instagram is created by Kierstyn. So created with a K, ED. So by Kierstyn, Kierstyn, on Instagram. And that's my social media. I should have more, but I do not. Okay.
Do you have any show or any type of reality TV show or a movie that someone else wrote that you wish you wrote it?
Oh, yes. Beyond the Lights. That was, girl. Okay. I got a couple. Can I do a couple?
Yes.
Okay. 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's written by Judd Apatow, who is, like, inspirational. He was a USC alumni. That movie is, I think that opened my eyes. Oh my God, this is funny. You know what I'm saying? And, like, it is outwardly funny, but it takes you some time to realize why it's so good and why it's so funny. And then Beyond the Lights by Gina Prince Bythewood. That movie, and I think now that I've, like, experienced the things that I've experienced, it hits even harder. But I loved it when it came out in, like, 2014.
Right.
But yeah, those are the two. I say. Yeah.
I like it. Now, I love both of those. Their 40-year-old version was a mess. But
It's so funny.
funny.
It's so funny. It's so good. I was just, man, and just to think, this is in the world now and we reference it, but, like, this man brought this out of the quantum universe. You know what I'm saying? He was sitting in his room and then he gonna walk out and do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's just crazy to me. So yeah, those are the two though.
What movie did you see when you were younger that didn't make sense until you watched it again as an adult?
That's a good question. Okay, so there's one that I have not seen again, and I know I'm intentionally not watching it because I know it's gonna make more sense than I need it to, and it's The Color Purple. Because I watched that movie my mom used to watch that movie all the time, and there's just quotes that your family says, and it's funny because you're quoting it, right? As an adult, as a woman, understanding history now, like, that movie is traumatic as I intentionally don't rewatch it because I know it's gonna hit harder than it did when it came out. It seems fun because your family talks about it, but it's a rough movie. It's very rough. So that's something that I'm intentionally not watching because I know it's gonna hit crazy. And even with, like, the play coming out and stuff, or, like, the musical, I was like, y'all can have that.
Yeah,
support y'all, but
okay. That's one of
yeah.
those ones that I wish it could have just stayed a book, but it's also one of those ones that there was a responsibility to tell that story.
Right. Right. And I think about, like, Alice Walker, who wrote that book, and then Toni Morrison, who wrote Beloved, and so many other books. And truly, I'm curious if they felt responsible, and maybe they have spoken about it. I'm not educated on that. But I think about it, those were the times. You know what I mean? And those were the stories of people around those times. So maybe there is a responsibility now, I think, to, like, remake and, like, keep it alive. But, like, I'm curious if they even felt responsible. I feel like this is my imagination, Kierstyn, right? Like, I feel I'm just writing this story that I'm thinking about, or about the people that are in my life, or the people that I know and have told me, you know what I mean? I don't know. It feels so responsible, but I don't know if they do. I'm curious.
That kind of making it a movie anyway.
Yeah, but people definitely saw it and felt responsible. So yeah, I don't know. Being an artist now, I just have such a different perspective of like people who create, because it takes everything out you to do this. So you know, your passion, I don't know, maybe fueled it, and then everybody else is like, we got to support this, we gotta make this big, you know. So it's a crazy journey, but we on it. I haven't watched a lot of interviews of Alice Walker specifically, but I watched a little bit of Toni Morrison, or she had a documentary, and I watched it. And one, just her method or how she spoke about her process was very, it's not similar to me. It was very spiritual. It's the way she expressed it. Because she was like, I'd be sitting at my house thinking about something, and then something would come up out the water and answer my question. Girl, you connected, because that's a different level of just connectivity and spirituality. And so hearing that type of stuff, I'm like, there's just something different there, something in you. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do appreciate you for being my guest today.
I love this. This was great.
I'm going to manifest see the girls being able to do a screening for Sext.
In
So
Detroit, maybe let me
no,
know.
okay.
Let me
Okay.
know. And we
Well,
have two local artists, music or art associated with it. So I'm definitely down if that's something that we can get together. Yeah.
I'm speaking it into existence. We'll see
Do
what
it.
happens. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm excited, and thank you for doing it, and good luck with everything. This was great.
Well, now I will stop the recording.